Welcome to the Kojonup District High School school farm. I'm Mel Shepperd. I'm the agriculture teacher from years 7 to 10 here, and we run a cropping, so just oats and hay for our own use, and sheep enterprise. And we've got the infrastructure for cattle, but we're waiting for some rain, so we actually have some water to be able to feed and utilise those cattle. So we do have infrastructure for cattle. This year we have worked with Southern Dirt as far as doing the trial site, where our children or our students who they were able to weigh sheep in and out, which is what we do as part of our program with the production cycle. So when we weigh sheep out to be sold, so they do that part. We've done that with Southern Dirt, and then we've put them on there for a number of weeks until the crop has got to a point where it was going to start doing damage. It went into the next stage, and we've taken those sheep off and reweighed them. And the students were part of that process all the way along. What they were able to see was the crop in its different stages and what the sheep like to eat. So we went through as part of our education program, and we could pick out that they favoured the shorter, the sweeter grasses, or what was underneath, rather than some of the ranker stuff. And I could use those examples to show the kids what sheep actually eat, and that they don't just graze the whole lot. You won't see a bare paddock unless they haven't really got a choice. And so that's what we've done with our students, and it's worked really well, because we've been able to give the statistics and the data to our maths and science teachers, who have also utilised that at school. And so that's how we've definitely benefited in our education program.
And we're hoping to bring that along even further. I mean, we've got Access Tech have come on board, and we're hoping to bring some other ones on board as well, so we can get some real look on a farm smart management happening across. That's great for the kids too, because they can see it's not just handling sheep, it's also about reading the data correctly, with the hope at the end of this that we're going to bring new people into the industry, because a lot of the students aren't actually farmers' kids, are they?
No.
Which is interesting. When you think of it being out in Kojonup, you'd think it'd be farmers' kids, but it's actually not. So those are the kids that you want to capture as much as possible to actually get them interested in the industry. And often anything from robotics and drones, like we've got a little car in there, like a little car which you'll see actually operating with camera equipment, things like that, which will be able to go through the crops, and we can actually look at things that are happening inside of that, which we think is a really great thing for the kids. We'll chuck it on TikTok, it'll be a hit. But it's those sort of things that actually do grab that attention, and if we want workers of the future, this is the sort of stuff we've got to do. So this is the first farm we're actually working with, so we're working out how to do it, because we have some constraints. We're working with children and a few other things that we've got to do. But we've also got a farm up in the Peel region which are looking at doing a very similar thing, and we've got some education experts by Alicia Keppert who are very, very keen to get this happening mainstream. So the idea would be it's not just these kids, but other kids would visit this school or the Peel school and actually have a look at what's happening and get interested in agriculture, and from there, they're your workers for the future.
And if I could add to that, when even 20 years ago everyone had a country cousin, but we don't have that anymore. So people from Perth they honestly don't have any clue where their food comes from. Well, I'm not to say Perth, but say suburbia, and that's for the connection that we'd like to make.
Yeah,
so
there's
the production systems.
Yep, yeah. Very big disconnect now.
Yes,
people get stuff out of a packet, and that's it. And actually, we've lost it all. So I think it's about time we reconnect it, and I think this is our part in this, and with this school to do that. So any questions before we move on out to the site?
Just for the project, what crop types are you grazing?
So we just did oats. Okay. Yeah, so just Williams variety of oats.
Yep. Anything else?
Variety of oats you're doing?
Williams. Yeah.
Yep. I think it's fair to say that water is your biggest challenge.
Water is the biggest challenge.
Absolutely.
Yes. We are very lucky. We have got scheme, but of course we pay
a lot
for that privilege. So.
What, to grow the oats?
But no, it's for our sheep. Yeah.
There is some drought relief funding available. I don't know if any of you guys are affected or not, but there is some funding available that if you want any help with your application for doing that. You know, they want to do, if you want to build dam infrastructure or something else, just give us a call, because we're just going through that process now, looking at it with farmers, and we'll have a talk to Mel about that as well, because it's a really important thing to do, because we're seeing a decline in sheep and cattle right throughout the southwest, and that's in relation to water only, pretty much. So we've got to do something about it, and I think if we can tap into these sorts of funds, at least we can actually help you to do something with that.
You better be quick, because they ran out of money last year.
Oh yeah, but they've still got it going.
They've got
they're
another
still
one
saying,
going, but
yeah,
they're waiting for the state government to come up with an equal amount
that's
of
right.
money as well.
Absolutely, you've got to do matched funding for it.
Yes.
So that's the constraint. But if you're going to build a dam, if you can get half it paid for, why not? You know? 25. No, there's a different one. There's a different one available. It's a 50-50 match grant at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So that's a different tranche of money. So the 25% is a state, and I think the 50% is a federal at this stage. So, but you know, if you want some help, we can go into it with detail with you. Okay.
Yep.
So as far as our project here is concerned, we've seeded this in early May. The oats, and it was this is the second year that this particular paddock has been cropped, and we've had, obviously you can see the ryegrass is having a great time, so we'll probably bale a few runs where it's really dirty, and so the sheep were put in here. I can't remember what's the phase they call it. So basically there was only leaf, and we fenced off, as you can see down there, the pointed, you can see the fence posts. We fenced off areas so that you could see the difference. And as you can see now, there is no difference between what was grazed and what wasn't grazed. And they were here for 2.5 weeks, I think, because of the stage of which we put the sheep in on it. And so that was where we got to. So yeah, I'll hand over to the results.
What was the stocking rate when you put the sheep here?
So in the pasture paddock we had 75 sheep that we weighed out of 250.
Yeah, about 200.
Yeah, 250, 200.
Yeah.
And in this cropping paddock we had 144 chosen at random to be weighed.
144 per acre, or?
In the paddock.
Yeah, so how big was
paddock?
How big?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
I think
not
it's 8
sure.
hectares. I think it's 8 hectares here.
8 hectares.
8 hectares. Yeah. So what you can see is
20 acres.
yeah.
So
So seven per acre.
Yeah,
So going into the paddock, we had in the cropping we had 19% of the sheep were under 35 kilos. 38% of the sheep were 35 to 40 kilos, 24% were 40 to 45, and 18% were 45 to 50, with 1% at 50 plus. Coming out of the paddock, I'll go into more specifics soon, but coming out of the paddock we had 4% under 35 kilos, 16% from 35 to 40, 40 to 45 we had 36, 45 to 50 kilos we had 29%, and 50 kilos we had up to 15%. So obviously just with those numbers you can tell that there was a difference in body mass. They gained quite a lot of weight. So what we did was I've taken over this project only just recently, so I'm still trying to get my head around the results and what we've done. So the NDVI was taken in here. So we had a crop average of, on the 4th of August, 0.74, on the 11th at 0.77, and on the 20th at 0.68. So that was after the sheep had been in for 2 weeks. We did some FOO measurements. So obviously FOO is the amount of pasture that is available for the sheep to eat. So dry matter kilos per hectare, we had 500 to 700 kilos per hectare on the 5th of August. On the 11th of August we had 750 to 1,500, and on the 18th of August we had 1,000 to 1,500 again. So obviously it stayed pretty similar over the 2 weeks that the sheep were in grazing. Looking at weight gains, so in our pasture the average initial weight coming in was 40.25 kilos. Our cropping was 39.3. Our final average weight for pasture was 43.06, and for the crop was 43.82. Our days grazed were 14 days. Our weight gain here, so with the pasture, the average weight gain was 2.81 kilos. and with the cropping it was 4.79. So in this paddock they gained an average of 4.79 over the 2 weeks. So looking at daily grams per day, it was 215 grams for the pasture and 341 grams for the cropping. So just I've just done up a scenario here for growers just to put it into a bit more of a perspective. So we had just scenario basis. So we had grazing merino lamb starting at a weight of 27 kilos. So that's just a random variable that I've chosen. Say for 5 weeks, and using the ABS pricing as of the 19th of August. So in pasture, say for example, we had an entry weight of 27 kilos coming in, with a daily weight gain of 216 kilos. So that's what we experience with our pasture here. So yes, grams. With a grazing period of 35 days. So again, that's just a random variable that I've chosen. Our final weight would be 34.6, and our final carcass weight would be 14.5, which brings our final value of an average of 65.3. So if we're looking at a mob of 250 sheep, at $4.50, say, for 13.1 to 16 kilos, it's about $16,000 profit. So with putting in like a crop benefit of dollars per 250 sheep is $10,200. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So that's with the pasture. So going off our values that we got off our crop here, same thing if we had an entry weight of 27 kilos, our daily weight gain of 342 grams, with a grazing period of 35 days. Our final weight is looking at about 39, with our final carcass weight of 16.4. So as soon as we go over that 16.1 to 19 kilo mark, the price of the sheep goes up to $6.50. So we're looking at then a final value of $106.38, which brings it to $26,500 profit. So that's just I just kind of wanted to put it into a bit of a perspective for growers to see that it's actually been a very successful site for our sheep. We did see really good weight gains over the 2 weeks. I guess with this trial, we're trying to promote and increase the farm productivity and profitability, and by getting the growers to add a bit more flexibility in their farm management practices. Trying to obviously promote the less supplementary feeding in the autumn gap and getting growers to start doing these kind of things with their sheep. I was really happy to see the results that did come off this site. So, is there any questions?
Yeah, we're closing for longer than 2 weeks. Put them on earlier,
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So they had to come off before growth stage 26, I think it was. Otherwise it would have affected the yield more so. So obviously at harvest time we've still got to do yield monitor count, get all that data off and then do more calculations as well to get a final result of what profit or...
And as the paddock was cropped last year, we can compare. We'll only have a total but of what we got off it, but we can compare apples with apples.
So, right. I was going to say, growth stage 26, is that just a general number for cereals? Is that growth stage?
No, it's got cereals.
Yeah.
It's regarding where the node is at coming up through like elongation.
Yeah,
So we don't want
Does
it.
that come from barley and wheat grazing, or is it from oat grazing?
It was
numbers?
oat specifically, yeah. So we had some, I think his name was Richard from GPED. He came and did a few things with Mel. Like I said, I've only just taken over the project. So he did sit down with Mel and they come up with a plan of when exactly it needs to come out, at what stage, when we're seeing what is happening with the oats then.
So, because terminal spikelet oats, which is the equivalent of wheats at 1 centimetre in the embryo stage, for oats it's at about 12 centimetres high at the same growth stage, and it's usually around 12 or 13 weeks after germination. So for wheat it's around 8, give or take a bit, it's around 8 weeks, wheat and barley, but for oats it's about 4 weeks later at the same stage. But the advantage of oats is that it's an more indeterminate crop. So it'll keep tillering and growing as long as there's moisture there. So sort of where you take away a bit from one bit, you add it in another. So just be aware of that with oats, is that you can graze them quite hard, and being more indeterminate, they'll just keep growing as long as there's moisture.
Yeah.
We need more sites, guys, for next year. Just saying.
Yeah, any girls interested,
Put your hand
obviously,
up. We'll happily.
We're getting some really good data off it, so and the data is available to you guys as soon as we get it off there. So if we need 3 sites for next year, if anyone is interested, it would be a massive help. So
What was the fertiliser program for the crop?
We just put on 2,000 kilos of urea when it went. No, yeah, super. Is that the same thing? Yeah. When it went in. Sorry, I didn't put it in. So yeah, blonde moment. So the when it went in, and that was
all I got, just super.
yeah, just got super. That was the only love I got. Yeah, and it was wasn't sprayed this year. It was just ploughed. We just ploughed it before we didn't do any weed knockdown.
Very good.
Yeah.
So are you just going to keep the grain for stock feed, or are you actually going to deliver it, or?
No, we'll keep it for ourselves. Okay. Yes. So that's why we put a certain portion in for just our stock feed and the hay as well, for our own use. So we don't have to buy in. We do buy in higher protein like barley or lupins if we need to, supplementary feed. But we do generally, we sort of mix that in with the oats for the the duration of the summer and when they're joining.
Do you expect a difference in the protein level of the oats between the 2 sections of the trial?
it's something we will measure.
Yep.
Unsure whether we will expect a difference. I would assume there would be, but don't know yet.
Right.
Just checking. You've got exclusion cages so you can work out the yield benefit. Is that right?
Yeah, that's why there was the fenced off section.
Okay. Yeah.